little one who knew every secret the world tried to hide, the settlement of Grey Hollow floated quietly in space, far from busy trade lanes and bright star cities. It was built from old metal and patched panels, a place where broken things were fixed and forgotten things were stored. Humans lived there because no one else wanted to. They repaired machines that bigger worlds threw away. They cleaned data cores that no one trusted anymore. Life in Grey Hollow was slow, hard, and mostly ignored. Among the workers lived a small human child named Eli. Eli was smaller than other children his age. His clothes were always a little too big, and his boots were always worn down at the heels. He did not run with the other kids or shout during work breaks. Most days he sat near the old machines watching them with quiet eyes. People thought he was shy, or weak, or slow. Some thought he was broken in a way that could not be fixed. They were wrong. Eli knew things no one noticed at first. When a power unit failed, Eli would point at it before sparks flew. When a door jammed, Eli would tap the wall next to it, and the door would slide open. He never asked how machines worked. He just knew where to touch them. The workers laughed and said he was lucky. The older ones said nothing. They felt uneasy when he was near. At night, when the lights dimmed and the station hummed softly, Eli sat by the view window. He watched the stars as if they were speaking. Sometimes he whispered back. One evening, a cargo ship arrived without warning. It was not human-made. Its surface was smooth and dark, and its engines were too quiet. The station's sensor should have seen it hours earlier, but they did not. The ship simply appeared, docking with a sound like a slow breath. The visitors were traders from another system, tall, thin, with pale skin and dark eyes. They spoke calmly and smiled often. They said they came for scrap metal and old data drives. The settlement leader, Mara, welcomed them. Trade was rare, and rare things were valuable. As the traders walked through the station, their scanning tools blinked and buzzed. One of them frowned. Another tapped his device again. The readings made no sense. Energy levels shifted without reason. Old machines gave off signals they should not have. Eli stood at the edge of the hall, holding a small metal cube he had found in the scrap piles. He watched the traders closely. One trader stopped walking. His eyes locked onto Eli. The trader's scanner let out a sharp sound, then shut off completely. The trader stared at the dark screen, then at the child. Eli tilted his head. The trader felt cold. Mara noticed the pause and stepped forward. She asked if something was wrong. The trader forced a smile and said it was nothing, just old equipment reacting to new air. He did not look at Eli again, but his steps were faster now. That night, Eli could not sleep. The station lights flickered. The walls made soft clicking sounds, like distant signals trying to push through. Eli sat up on his narrow bed and pressed his hands against his ears. It was too loud, even though there was no sound. He slid off the bed and walked into the hallway. The station felt awake, more awake than it should be. Machines hummed louder as he passed. Doors opened before he reached them. Eli walked toward the central control room. Mara was there, along with 2 guards. They were arguing in low voices. The trader's ship was sending signals that did not match their spoken words. Their cargo logs were empty, but their internal systems were full of hidden data. Something was wrong. Eli stepped into the room. Everyone turned. Mara opened her mouth to tell him to go back to bed, but Eli spoke first. "They are not here to trade," he said. His voice was soft, but clear. The room fell silent. One guard laughed nervously and said it was just a child talking. Mara looked at Eli closely. She asked him how he knew.
"They are waiting," Eli said.
"They are counting."
"Counting what?" Mara asked.
"Time,"
Eli replied. Before anyone could ask more, the lights went out. Red warning symbols flashed across the walls. The station shook as something struck its outer shell. Alarms screamed to life. The trader's ship fired first. Defense systems tried to power up, but many were too old or too damaged. The station was not built for war. Panic spread fast. People ran. Tools fell. Voices shouted over each other. Eli stood still. He looked toward the ceiling. toward the stars beyond the metal walls. "They are early," he said. A blast tore through one of the outer corridors. Air rushed out into space. Emergency fields snapped into place just in time. The station groaned under the stress. Mara grabbed Eli's arm and pulled him toward a safe passage. She did not ask questions now. She trusted her fear. As they ran, Eli pointed left, then right. Mara followed without thinking. Each turn avoided falling debris or broken power lines. Each door opened just before they reached it. The guards followed, wide-eyed and silent. They reached a sealed room deep inside the station. It was old, older than most people knew. The walls were thick, and the systems inside were simple but strong. The door shut behind him with a heavy sound. For a moment, there was only breathing. Mara knelt in front of Eli. Her hands shook. She asked him again how he knew about the attack.
Eli looked tired now. His eyes were dull, like he had not slept in days.
"They told me," he said. Mara asked who.
The walls, Eli replied. The wires.
"The quiet parts, they always tell me." Another explosion shook the station. The guards exchanged looks. One whispered that the child was not normal. Eli heard him.
I am small, Eli said. That helps.
Mara asked what he meant. "They do not hide from small things," Eli said. "Big things are loud, small things listen." Outside the safe room, the fighting continued. The trader ship sent boarding units. Automated drones moved through the corridors, firing at anything that moved. The station's old defenses failed one by one. Eli closed his eyes. Mara told him to stay awake, but Eli did not respond. The lights in the safe room dimmed, then brightened. The air felt warm. The station hum, changed pitch. Somewhere deep inside Grey Hollow, systems long shut down began to stir. Old human code woke up. Doors locked themselves. Corridors shifted power flow. Drones lost signal and fell silent. The attacking ship's weapons failed. One after another, as if something was gently turning them off. The traders panicked. They sent emergency signals, but those signals vanished into static. Maris stared at the control screen. She had never seen the station respond like this. It was as if Grey Hollow itself was choosing sides. Eli opened his eyes. "They are leaving," he said. As if on command, the shaking stopped. Silence returned, broken only by distant alarms winding down. Minutes passed, then hours. The attack was over. Later, rescue ships from nearby human systems arrived. They found the trader ship drifting, powerless, its crew alive but unable to explain what had happened. Their data cores were wiped clean, not damaged, just empty. No weapons fire had caused it. No virus could be found. Mara stood in the main hall as repairs began. Workers whispered and stared at Eli as he walked past. Some looked afraid.
Others looked relieved. The trader who had noticed Eli earlier was taken away under guard.
As he passed the child, he whispered a question in a shaking voice. "What are you?" Eli looked up at him.
"I listen," he said.
That night, as Grey Hollow drifted once more in quiet space, Eli sat by the view window again. The stars felt closer now. Louder. He pressed his hand against the glass. Far away, something ancient shifted. Something that had been asleep for a very long time had noticed the little one who knew its secrets. And it was beginning to wake up. After the attack, Grey Hollow was no longer the same. Repair teams worked around the clock to fix doors, walls, and broken systems, but something deeper had changed. Mara could feel it. The station seemed alive in ways she did not understand. Its hum was stronger, sharper, almost like it was listening to her thoughts. Eli stayed close to Mara, walking silently through halls still warm with the memory of the battle. He did not speak unless he needed to. Sometimes his small hands brushed against pipes, and they would glow faintly as if recognizing him. The adults avoided asking how, and he never explained. The trader's ship had been taken to a secure docking bay. Its crew sat in guarded silence, unable to operate any system. Mara had asked engineers to analyze it, but nothing could explain why all weapons and power units were frozen. All they knew was that Eli had been near when the failure occurred. Weeks passed. The station settled into a fragile routine. Eli watched, studied, and spoke rarely. Mara noticed that he had begun drawing maps, lines on paper, diagrams of places no one remembered, tunnels and hidden rooms beneath the station, old storage vaults erased from records decades ago. The maps were precise. When Mara sent engineers to check, everything matched. A visitor arrived from a distant human system. His name was Tovan, a researcher who studied human and alien interaction. He was tall, pale-skinned, with eyes that seemed too dark, almost black, and his hands were long and thin. Tovan had heard rumors of Grey Hollow's attack and came to investigate. He assumed humans were simple, weak, easy to read. That assumption was wrong. Tovan entered the station and watched Eli from a distance. At first, he ignored the child, thinking him small and unimportant. But Eli did not ignore him. The child followed him with quiet eyes, noting Tovan's every movement. When Tovan tapped his tools or tried to access a system, the readings went wrong. Nothing he tried worked as expected. He stepped closer. "Child," he said. "How do you know this?" Eli did not answer immediately. He pressed a small hand against the wall and whispered, "The walls remember. They tell me." Tovan frowned. He tested a panel and expected a certain reading. It was wrong. He tested again. Wrong again. He turned to Eli. "Explain." "They hide things," Eli said. "Old things humans wanted to forget, but I can hear them." Tovan studied the maps Eli had drawn. He saw tunnels, hidden rooms, abandoned generators, and systems no human alive had used for decades. Tovan walked the mapped paths and found every detail correct. He had to admit something. Eli was not just smart. Eli was aware. Mara stayed close to the conversation, her hands trembling. "How?" she asked. "How does a child know these secrets?" Eli looked at her calmly. "Because secrets are small and quiet. They hide in walls, wires, and codes."
I just listen.
The researcher shook his head. He had seen many unusual humans, but nothing like Eli. He had studied humans for years, and he knew the species had survived countless disasters. But this child was beyond normal understanding. Days passed and more signs appeared. Machines in the station, left untouched for decades, began to work on their own when Eli passed by. Old lights turned on, storage bays opened. Systems registered new power flows that no engineer could explain. Mara began to wonder if Eli was connected to something far bigger than Grey Hollow. One evening, Eli pulled Mara to the observation deck. He pointed toward the dark stars. "They are coming," he said. "They know we are here." Mara followed his gaze. Nothing was visible, only blackness. "Who?" she asked. "Not people," Eli said. "Something that listens to all people." Something older than humans. Before she could question further, alarms blared. A distant flash outside the station lit the void like a distant lightning strike. Something large was moving through the dark, faster than the settlement's sensors could detect. Tovan joined them. He looked out at the shadow, a narrow sliver moving across the stars. "Impossible speed," he said. "Nothing this size should travel like that." Eli did not flinch. "They are not ships," he said. "They are shadows, not made of metal or fire. They hear like I do." The researcher's heart raced. He had studied alien technology, starships, and energy fields, but this was beyond his experience. Mara grabbed Eli's hand. "We need a plan," she said. "We cannot fight them." Eli shook his head. "You cannot fight," he said. "You can only hide or listen." That night, the station's systems continued to act strangely. Power cores flickered and pulsed on their own. Old human weapons turned online but did not respond to commands. Mara realized the station was alive, like it had a mind, and that mind was responding to Eli. Tovan demanded answers. "What is he?" he asked. Why does the station obey him? Eli smiled faintly, almost tired. I am small, he said. Small things hear better. Big things shout, but secrets whisper. The station listens to whispers. Mara looked at Eli. She understood then that this child was not a tool, not a weapon, but something unique. A human who could hear what the universe tried to hide. Days later, the strange shadows approached closer. Sensors detected shapes moving between stars, but nothing physical. Tovin called them energy anomalies. Eli called them listeners, like him, but older and bigger. They were drawn to Grey Hollow, drawn to the child who could hear the truth. The first encounter came suddenly. Shadows appeared near the station walls. Lights flickered. Crew members screamed as machines powered down. The shadows made no sound but moved like they had purpose, circling the settlement. Eli went to the main control room. He pressed hands to the panels, whispering as if speaking to friends. Slowly the shadows recoiled, shifting away. Tovan was stunned. You can control them? He asked. Eli shook his head. I do not control. I speak. They listen because they are like me, older, bigger, and impatient.
The settlement held its breath.
No weapon fired. No system could stop the shadows. Only the child's whispers kept them from destroying the station. Mara realized she had to protect Eli. If the child was the key to survival, he could not leave. The shadows were patient, waiting, observing, and Eli was the signal they had been searching for. The next day, Eli drew another map. It showed the tunnels and old generator rooms beneath the station, but this time it included new paths to escape if needed. He said little, only that the shadows were curious and growing restless. Tovan insisted on studying the child. We need to understand him, he said. He may be humanity's greatest weapon. Mara glared. Weapon? She said. He is a child. Eli looked at both of them. I am not a weapon, he said. I am a listener. That is all. But listening is dangerous. Everyone wants secrets, but not everyone can hear. By the end of the week, the settlement was on high alert. The shadows were closer, circling, probing, almost testing. Machines failed, systems glitched, but Grey Hollow remained standing. The child had become the center of everything, the one link between human fragility and a universe that no one fully understood. Late one night, Tovan watched Eli by the observation window. You are not like other humans, he said quietly. Ellie looked at him, calm. Other humans do not listen, he said. They only hear what they are told. I hear what is not told. That makes them afraid. Tovan nodded slowly. He understood that Eli's power was not in force or weapons, but in knowledge. The child could see secrets hidden for centuries. He could hear whispers of the past, echoes of human creation, and signals no one else could detect. Mara realized that the attack by the traitors had been only the beginning. Something older, larger, and far more patient was coming. Grey Hollow might not survive, but if Eli lived, humanity had a chance. Eli pressed his hand against the glass one more time. Far away, between the stars, shapes shifted. They were waiting. And the child, small and silent, whispered back. The stars outside Grey Hollow were colder than ever. Ships and settlements far away shone faintly, like distant candles, unaware of what moved silently between them. Eli had been quiet for days. He no longer played with small machines or drew maps for fun. Instead, he wandered the station's hidden corridors, hands brushing against pipes and panels, listening. The hum of old circuits and hidden systems filled his mind, like whispers of a language humans had forgotten. Mara followed him at a distance, careful not to disturb him. She could feel the tension in the station. The walls themselves seemed alive, watching. The shadows from before had not returned, but their presence was still felt, a heavy pressure in the corridors and vents. Eli could hear them, even when the sensors could not. Tovan insisted on studying the child, asking questions about what he sensed. Tell me how you hear it, he said one evening.
Tell me what you know.
Eli shook his head.
I cannot tell what is not for talking, he said. The secrets are quiet.
They do not like to be repeated. Tovan frowned. He had studied human intelligence, alien strategies, and interstellar physics. But he had never met anyone like Eli. Every day, the child revealed more hidden knowledge. Old tunnels beneath Grey Hollow, sealed vaults from past wars, systems thought lost to time, all were within Ellie's memory. Sometimes, he even predicted events before they happened. Mara had begun to depend on his quiet warnings. One day, as repairs continued on the station, Eli paused in the central hall. The lights flickered, and he held up a small hand.
They are close, he said.
Mara and Tovan looked at him, alarmed. Outside the station, dark shapes moved faster than any known ship. Their forms were strange, shifting, neither solid nor fully energy. They were approaching in silence, except for the pressure they brought.
Prepare defenses, Mara said. We cannot let them enter.
Eli shook his head.
Defenses do not work, he said. They hear walls, pipes, and every movement. They are not machines. They are listeners, like me. Bigger, older, patient. Tovan's mind raced. He tried to calculate the speed, the energy signatures, the physics of what approached. Nothing made sense. No weapon humans or aliens had could intercept them. The shadows had no weakness he could see. Eli walked toward the observation deck. He pressed both hands against the glass and whispered. The shadows shifted slightly, recoiling, then moved again. Mara stepped forward.
What are you doing? She asked.
Speaking, Eli said simply. I speak to them. They listen. The first of the shadows reached the outer hull of Grey Hollow. Systems around the docking bays went offline. Lights dimmed. Machinery groaned. The crew panicked. Guards ran to the corridors, but doors would not respond to their codes. Only Eli could move freely. He walked slowly toward the center of the station, murmuring in a voice too soft for anyone to understand. The shadows paused at the hull, vibrating slightly as if considering their next move. Then they shifted again, retreating just enough to avoid the station's walls. Tovan studied him closely.
You are not controlling them, he said. You are communicating. Eli nodded.
Yes, I do not control. I only speak what is heard. Mara realized that the child's gift was not a weapon or a shield. It was something far older, something that connected humans to the universe itself. Later, Eli led Mara and Tovan through the hidden tunnels beneath the station. He moved with a quiet confidence, pointing at panels that no longer worked, doors that had been sealed for decades.
This way, he said. If we need to hide, we hide here. The tunnels were old.
Some walls were rusted, some floors had fallen away, but they were strong enough to protect anyone inside. Mara could feel the presence of the shadows even here. A low hum in the air, like a heartbeat from the dark. Eli stopped in front of a massive door buried deep in the rock.
This was built by humans long ago, he said. It holds what was too dangerous to remember.
Tovan leaned closer. What is it?
Eli shook his head. I do not know.
I only know it listens to me, and it remembers. Mara pressed her hand against the door. It hummed faintly under her fingers. Systems inside the station began to respond, lights flickering back to life. Even in the tunnels, Grey Hollow seemed alive, moving in recognition of Eli. For days, Eli explored the hidden sections of the station. Each room, each passage, revealed secrets humans had tried to erase. Storage bays contained old human ships powered down for centuries. Control panels held data on wars and conflicts that official records claimed never happened. Ancient machines began to respond when Eli approached. Tovan became obsessed. He spent hours observing the child, recording every reaction, every gesture. But Eli never did anything twice the same way. Sometimes he touched a panel, and lights came on. Sometimes he spoke softly, and doors unlocked. Sometimes he stared at a wall, and the air itself seemed to hum. Mara feared for the child. You are too small for this, she said one evening. Too young. Eli looked at her calmly. Small is why I can do it, he said. Big things shout, but secrets whisper. Only the quiet can hear them. The shadows returned. They moved faster now, testing the station, probing for weaknesses. Sensors could barely detect them, but Eli knew exactly where they were. He moved along the corridors, hands brushing panels, whispering in the language of wires, metal, and quiet hums. Slowly the shadows withdrew. The station itself seemed to follow his guidance. Doors locked and unlocked. Lights dimmed and brightened. Machinery stirred from old slumber. The crew watched in awe as a small child, smaller than anyone expected, commanded a station older than most remembered. One day Eli led Mara and Tovan to a sealed chamber beneath the station. It was vast, shaped like a cathedral, with walls of black metal etched with strange symbols. The air hummed thick with energy. Machines lined the walls, dormant but alert. Eli stepped to the center and placed his hands on a central console.
"The old humans built this to remember," he said. "It hears, it knows, but it sleeps."
They were afraid of knowing too much. Tovan walked closer. "What is it?" he asked again. "I do not know," Eli said. It listens to me. It waits for humans.
"And it remembers everything we forget." A low vibration ran through the chamber.
Panels lit up with symbols. Lights traced lines across the walls. Machines began to hum, soft at first, then louder. Eli whispered, and the hum grew in response. The shadows outside paused, sensing the awakening. Mara realized the truth. The old humans had not feared weapons or power. They had feared knowledge. Knowledge that could remember all secrets, see all truths, and expose lies hidden for centuries. Eli had awakened it. The station trembled slightly, responding to the child's presence. Tovan stared in disbelief.
"This is impossible," he said. "Nothing built by humans should do this."
Eli looked at him, calm. "Humans remember differently," he said. "Some remember too much, some too little. I listen, and I remember what was hidden." The shadows outside the hull pressed closer, sensing the change. Their movement was deliberate, careful, as if the awakening within Grey Hollow had drawn their attention. Eli pressed a small hand to the console. "They are curious," he said. "They know something is awake." Mara grabbed his shoulder. "What will happen?" she asked. "They will wait," Eli said. "They are patient. They have always been patient. And we have only begun." Days turned into nights, though inside the station lights and hums blurred the difference. Eli explored the chamber and the tunnels, discovering paths and mechanisms humans had long forgotten. Tovan followed, obsessed with understanding. He recorded every word, every sound, every reaction. Yet every answer seemed to raise more questions. Eli's whispers had power, not a power of destruction, but a power of presence. Machines listened, stations responded, even the dark shapes between stars seemed aware. He was small, but the universe noticed him. One evening, while Mara watched the child at the observation deck, she realized something terrifying. The station and Li were connected, but the connection went beyond Grey Hollow. It reached out, touching distant systems, brushing against distant stars. Eli was not just hearing what was hidden in the station. He was hearing the secrets of the universe, of humans long gone, of machines long dead, and of shadows waiting in space. The first of the shadows touched the station. Lights flickered. Panels hummed with energy. Eli placed his hands on the wall and whispered. The shadows paused, then retreated, pulling back into the darkness between stars. Mara exhaled in relief. Tovan, however, looked worried. "If they are listeners like him," he said, "what happens when they meet others like him? What will the universe do?" Eli smiled, faintly tired. "We will listen," he said, "and they will listen too. That is all." Mara held him close. She did not understand everything, but she knew the truth. This small child was humanity's greatest secret. Not a weapon, not a leader, not a soldier, but a listener. And in a universe filled with shadows, secrets, and lies, listening could be the only thing that kept humans alive. The stars beyond Grey Hollow shone quietly, but Mara knew they were not safe. Something waited, something ancient. And Eli, small, silent, and calm, was the signal that had awakened it. And the universe had begun to notice. The universe outside Grey Hollow had grown restless. Shadows moved faster than ever, circling the station like silent predators. Machines within the station hummed softly, waiting, listening, responding only to Eli. He walked through the central corridors with calm steps, touching walls, tapping old consoles, whispering words no one could understand. Mara followed closely, her hand resting lightly on his small shoulder, trying to shield him from the fear that filled the station. Tovan, the researcher, had stopped pretending to understand. He walked behind them, scanning every panel, every vent, every light. He could not predict what Eli would do next, and he had learned that nothing in Grey Hollow followed normal rules anymore. Every door, every machine, every system responded to the child's presence. Sometimes panels turned on when he passed, sometimes lights brightened, sometimes machinery whispered soft warnings. One morning Eli paused in front of the observation deck. He placed both hands against the glass and stared at the stars. Mara and Tovan followed his gaze. Far beyond the station, shapes moved in ways no ship should. Shadows, energy forms, beings that were not made of metal or fire but something older, more patient. "They are waiting," Eli said softly. Mara tightened her grip on his hand. "Waiting for what?" she asked. "They are curious," he said. "They know something is awake inside us." Tovan frowned. "Do they want to attack?" Eli shook his head. "Not attack. Not yet. They are like me." Listeners. Bigger, older, more patient. They only respond to the quiet.
The day passed with tension in the air.
Outside the hull, sensors flickered as shapes moved between stars. Inside, Grey Hollow's systems hummed, shifted, adapted. Every movement of Eli sent ripples through the station. By night, Eli led Mara and Tovan through the hidden tunnels beneath the settlement. These tunnels had been built centuries ago, sealed and forgotten. Eli had drawn maps of them weeks before, but now he moved with purpose, as if guiding them toward something important. At the deepest level, Eli stopped in front of a massive metal door. Its surface was etched with strange symbols, worn by time. The hum of energy from the walls was strong here, almost like the station itself was alive. Eli pressed his small hands against the door. "This is what the old humans built," he said. "It was meant to remember. It sleeps, but it listens. It knows secrets humans forgot." Tovan stepped closer. "What is inside?" he asked. "I do not know," Eli said. "I only know it remembers. And it will answer to humans who listen." Mara pressed her hand against the door. A vibration ran through her fingers. Lights in the tunnels flickered. Panels on the walls began to glow softly, and distant machinery stirred as if waking from a long sleep. Eli placed both hands on the central console beside the door. "They are outside," he said. "The shadows. They know something is awake." Mara shivered. "Can they get in?" Eli shook his head. "Not yet. They are patient. They do not break what listens. They wait for those who will respond." Tovan's mind raced. He had studied alien species, human technology, and cosmic energy for decades, yet he had never seen anything like this. Eli was not just interacting with the station. He was communicating with something older, larger, and far beyond understanding. Days passed. Eli explored every part of the hidden chambers, every old vault, every forgotten machine. Some were dormant, but many stirred at his touch. Lights blinked, panels hummed, and hidden doors opened. Machines long unused powered on. Storage bays revealed old human ships, sealed data cores and records that had been erased from history. Mara realized the truth slowly. Humans had built something dangerous long ago, something that remembered too much. They had chosen to hide it because knowledge of it frightened them. Eli had found it, and by being who he was, had awakened it. The shadows outside moved closer each day, They circled, probing, shifting like tides of darkness, sensing the changes inside Grey Hollow. Eli continued to walk among the station's machines, whispering soft words, touching panels and pipes, guiding systems that humans had long forgotten how to use. Slowly, the shadows adjusted their path. They did not attack directly. They only watched, measured, and waited. Tovan became obsessed with understanding the child. He asked questions, recorded data, and tried to measure the energy around him. Eli never gave direct answers. "You cannot measure what listens," he said. "You can only hear it." One evening, Eli led Mara and Tovan to a vast chamber buried deep beneath the station. The walls were black metal, etched with symbols that glowed faintly as he touched them. Machines lined the walls, dormant but alert. The air vibrated, with power, thick and alive.
"The old humans built this to remember everything," Eli said. "It knows wars, secrets, and things that no one should remember."
"It listens to humans, who listen themselves." Tovan stared.
"If this is so powerful, why did humans hide it?" "Fear," Eli said. "They feared knowing too much."
They feared the truth. I do not fear it.
I listen. The vibrations in the chamber grew stronger.
Lights traced lines along the walls, panels activated. Machines hummed, soft at first, then louder. The station itself seemed to recognize Eli, moving with his presence. The shadows outside paused, sensing the awakening. Mara's heart pounded. "What will happen?" she asked. "They will wait," Eli said. "They are patient. They have always been patient. And we have only begun." The child pressed his hands against the console again. The symbols on the walls pulsed in response. Tovan could feel energy in the air, more alive than anything he had ever measured. Machines responded to the child's whispers as if the station itself obeyed him. Outside, the shadows adjusted. They moved in patterns Eli seemed to anticipate. The station's systems shifted subtly, creating barriers, redirecting power, and activating defenses that no one alive remembered how to control. Eli walked through the chamber, touching the walls, speaking soft words. Mara watched, amazed. Tovan studied, obsessed. The child was not a weapon, not a soldier, not a commander. He was a listener, and in a universe filled with secrets, shadows, and hidden dangers, listening could be the most powerful skill of all. Days turned into nights, but inside the station, light and hum blurred the difference. Eli explored hidden rooms and tunnels, revealing more secrets humans had forgotten. Old machines powered on. Systems long dormant responded to his presence. Data cores revealed information erased from records. The past and present intertwined through the child's awareness. One night, Eli pressed a hand to the glass of the observation deck. Beyond the hull, the shadows shifted in the void. Their movement was deliberate, careful, almost patient, as if they were measuring the child's presence. Mara stood behind him, holding his small hand. She realized how fragile they all were, yet how important Eli had become.
"They are like me," Eli said softly.
Only bigger, older, and more patient. They respond to listening, not force. I am small, so I can speak to them. They notice me. Tovan shook his head. If they are like you, what happens when they meet others like you?
They will listen, Ellie said.
"And we will listen back. That is all."
The stars beyond Grey Hollow shone quietly, but Mara knew they were not safe. Something ancient had noticed the awakening within the station. And the small child who could hear everything was the signal, the bridge between humans and the vast hidden universe. Eli stood alone for a moment, pressing both hands against a console. The station hummed in recognition, alive with the memory of human secrets. Outside, the shadows lingered, sensing the awakening, patient and aware. Mara watched him and realized the truth. Humans had not survived the universe by weapons or strength. They had survived because they could remember, understand, and now, through this small child, they could listen. Listening had power. Listening could awaken what had been hidden for centuries. Listening could save lives when no weapon could. Eli whispered again. The shadows paused. The station pulsed. The universe seemed to hold its breath, and the little one who knew every secret the world tried to hide had begun to reveal them, one whisper at a time. Grey Hollow had grown tense. The shadows outside moved faster and closer than before. Sensors barely registered them, yet Eli could feel their presence everywhere. They were not attacking, not yet, but their patience was frightening. They circled, probing, waiting for the child who could hear everything. Mara watched him constantly. She no longer feared the child. She feared what the universe had noticed about him. She feared that the station itself had awakened to something humans were not meant to understand. Machines stirred at Eli's touch. Lights blinked in response to his whispers. Old data cores powered on when he approached. It was as if the station itself had chosen him. Tovan followed them everywhere, obsessed. He measured energy flows, recorded panels, and analyzed the movement of the shadows. Nothing he knew explained what was happening. No ship, no weapon, no technology had ever behaved this way. Only Eli had the knowledge, or the awareness, to make the station respond. One day, Eli paused in the central hall. He touched a panel, then another, whispering softly as if speaking to old friends. Machines groaned, doors shifted, lights flickered, and old systems began to operate after decades of silence. Mara and Tovan followed silently. "They are coming closer," Eli said. "They hear us? Do they want to destroy us?" Mara asked. "No," Eli said. "Not yet. They are like me. They only respond to listening. They are patient." Tovan frowned. "But they are huge. Faster than anything humans built." "How can patience save us?" Eli shook his head. "Not patience, listening. That is all." That night, Eli led Mara and Tovan deep into the station's hidden tunnels. He moved quickly and silently as if guided by something invisible. The tunnels were old, long sealed, and forgotten. They smelled of metal and dust, but Eli did not seem to mind. He touched walls, pressed panels, and whispered to pipes and old generators. Slowly, systems stirred, responding to him. At the end of a narrow tunnel, Eli stopped in front of a massive vault door. The symbols on it glowed faintly at his touch. Mara pressed her hand beside his. The vibrations were strong, like the station itself was alive and waiting. "This is what the old humans built," Eli said softly. "It remembers. It listens. It knows secrets humans tried to hide. It wakes only for those who will listen back." Tovan stepped closer. "What is inside?" "I do not know," Eli said. "But it will answer if we speak carefully." Mara realized that the child's small size, his quiet voice, and his patience had awakened something far older than humans. Machines had power, but not awareness. Weapons had strength, but not memory. Eli could hear and awaken, understand and respond. He was not a weapon, but a key to knowledge hidden for centuries. Outside, the shadows moved nearer. They pressed against the hull of Grey Hollow, feeling the awakening inside. The sensors flared and blinked, but none could detect them fully. Only Eli could perceive their presence, their attention, their careful waiting. Days passed. Eli explored the hidden chambers, drawing maps and activating old systems. Panels hummed, lights brightened, and machinery powered on at his touch. Storage bays revealed old human ships dormant but functional. Data cores opened, revealing wars, conflicts, and alliances long erased from official records. Mara could see the burden on the child. He was small, yet he carried knowledge that could shatter empires. He knew secrets that humans, aliens, and even the universe itself tried to hide. And he knew the shadows were patient, waiting for the right moment to test what he could do. One morning, Ellie led them to a massive central console buried in a chamber deep below the station. Machines lined the walls, humming faintly, dormant but alert. The air vibrated with energy, thick and alive. Eli pressed his hands against the console. "They are watching," he said. "They know something is awake. They are curious." Mara swallowed hard. What happens if they find us? They will wait, Eli said. They always wait. But listening can answer what force cannot. Tovan studied him closely.
You are not just listening, he said. You are speaking. You awaken machines, systems, the station itself.
And they respond. Eli nodded.
Yes, they respond because I hear what they hide.
They respond to attention, not to commands. That is why they are here. That is why they notice me. The shadows outside pressed closer. Sensors flared, systems trembled, and lights flickered. But the station remained alive and protective. Eli moved through the halls, whispering soft words, touching walls, pipes, and panels. Slowly, the shadows adjusted their path, circling without breaking in, measuring, listening. For days, this balance continued. The child spoke, the station listened, and the shadows waited. Machines awakened. Storage bays revealed hidden ships. Old data cores unlocked centuries-old secrets. Humans, long weak and unimportant to the universe, stood at the center of attention, and it was a small child who held the key. Mara realized the truth. Humanity had survived not because of weapons or power, but because humans could remember, understand, and now, through Eli, listen. Listening gave knowledge. Knowledge gave awareness. Awareness gave protection. And in a universe filled with shadows, listeners could survive where fighters failed. One evening, Eli led them to a chamber deeper than any they had explored. The walls were black metal, etched with strange glowing symbols. Machines lined every wall, dormant but attentive. The hum of energy filled the air. The shadows outside sensed the awakening and paused. This is the heart of it, Eli said. The old humans built this to remember everything. Wars, secrets, and truths. Only those who listen can awaken it safely. And I am here, so it listens. Tovan's mind raced. If this is so powerful, why did humans hide it? Fear, Eli said. They feared knowing too much. They feared the truth. I do not fear, I listen. The vibrations in the chamber grew stronger. Panels lit up. Lights traced lines along the walls, and machines hummed louder. Gray Hollow itself seemed alive, following Eli's guidance. The shadows outside adjusted, sensing the change, moving deliberately, as if curious about the child who could awaken what humans had sealed for centuries. Days turned into nights, though inside the station the difference was blurred. Eli explored hidden rooms, tunnels, and chambers, activating old machines and uncovering forgotten ships. Lights blinked, panels hummed, and data cores opened. History, erased from records, revealed itself through the child's touch. Mara realized something terrifying. The shadows were not enemies, at least, not yet. They were observers, listeners. They had noticed the awakening inside Gray Hollow. And Eli, small, quiet, and patient, had become the signal, the bridge between humans and what had been hidden in the universe for centuries. Late one night, Ellie pressed his hand to the observation glass. Stars beyond the station were dark, but shapes moved among them. Shadows, energy forms, entities neither metal nor fire, yet aware. Mara understood then that Gray Hollow and Eli were not just hiding, they were communicating. They are like me, Eli said softly, only bigger, older, and more patient. They notice what listens. Tovan frowned. If they are like you, what happens when they meet humans who do not listen? They will wait, Eli said. And humans will survive if they learn to listen. That is all. Mara held him close, understanding finally the weight the child carried. He was small, but he carried knowledge and awareness beyond any human, any alien, and any machine. Through him, the station awakened. Through him, humanity could face shadows without weapons, without violence, by listening to secrets the universe tried to hide. Eli whispered again. The station hummed in response. The shadows outside paused, circling, patient and deliberate. Gray Hollow itself seemed alive with the child's awareness, and in that moment, Mara realized the truth. Humans had survived the universe not through force, but through memory, understanding, and listening. And Eli, small, quiet, and powerful, was the key. The universe had noticed, and the little one who knew every secret the world tried to hide was beginning to reveal them. Grey Hollow had changed completely. The station was no longer just a settlement of humans who repaired broken machines. It had become alive in ways no one had imagined. The walls hummed, the old systems stirred, and even the shadows moving outside seemed to hesitate, aware of something far older than themselves. Eli walked quietly through the central corridors. Mara followed closely, holding his small hand. Tovan trailed behind, scanning everything, but his eyes could not take in all that was happening. The station responded to Eli as if it recognized him. Lights blinked in patterns he understood. Doors opened and closed as he passed. Machines powered on with a soft hum when he touched them. Every system listened. Every system remembered. Outside, the shadows were closer than ever. They moved silently through the darkness, circling, probing, testing. Eli could feel them everywhere. He pressed his hands against the walls and whispered. The station responded. The shadows shifted, slowed, and paused. They were aware of the child, aware of the signal he carried, aware of the knowledge he had awakened. They are patient, Eli said softly. Mara had learned to listen when he spoke. They do not break what listens. They wait for those who will understand. Tovan frowned. And if they do not wait? Eli shook his head. Then they test. They always test. But listening can answer what force cannot. The day passed with tension in the air. Crew members moved quickly, repairing systems that had flickered under the presence of the shadows. Machines trembled in recognition. Panels glowed faintly, and old data cores began to hum softly, as if remembering long-forgotten knowledge. Eli walked among them, whispering to wires, touching consoles, guiding systems humans had long forgotten how to use. Slowly, the shadows adjusted their path. They did not attack directly. They circled, measured, and watched. That evening, Eli led Mara and Tovan deep into the station's hidden chambers. The tunnels were old, sealed for centuries and long forgotten. Eli touched walls and pipes, whispered softly and slowly. Machinery stirred in response. Lights blinked, doors shifted, and hidden compartments opened. Systems that had been dormant for decades now hummed with energy, as if alive again. At the end of a narrow tunnel, Ellie stopped in front of a massive vault door. The metal was black, etched with symbols that glowed faintly at his touch. The vibrations in the walls were strong, like the station itself was alive and waiting. "This is what the old humans built," Eli said softly. "It remembers everything. Wars, secrets, truths. Only those who listen can awaken it safely. And I am here, so it listens." Tovan stepped closer, awe and fear in his eyes. "What is inside?" "I do not know," Eli said. "But it will answer if we speak carefully." Mara pressed her hand beside his. The vibrations ran through her fingers. She could feel the station recognizing the child. Machines hummed, panels lit up, and the shadows outside paused, sensing the awakening. Days passed. Eli explored every hidden room and corridor, uncovering secrets humans had tried to erase. Old ships, sealed data cores and machines long dormant now responded to his touch. He whispered to walls, wires, and systems. Slowly, the station adjusted to his presence. Lights blinked, doors opened, and machinery hummed in recognition. Mara watched him closely. She understood that Eli was not a weapon, not a soldier, not a leader. He was a listener. And in a universe filled with shadows, listening could be the most powerful skill of all. One night, Eli pressed his hand to the observation glass. The shadows outside moved like a tide in the void, circling, patient, aware. Mara stood behind him, holding his small hand. Tovan measured energy flows and tried to understand, but it was beyond him. Only Eli could perceive the full scope of the danger and the power he carried. "They are curious," Eli said softly. They know something is awake. They notice me. They are huge, Mara said. Faster than any ship humans built. What can we do? Nothing, Eli said. We do not fight. We listen. That is all. The next morning, Ellie led them to the chamber at the heart of the station. It was vast, walls of black metal, etched with strange symbols, lined with machines that had slept for centuries. The air vibrated with energy, thick and alive. Panels glowed faintly at Eli's touch. Machines stirred. The station itself seemed to breathe in his presence. They are outside, Eli said. The shadows. They sense the awakening.
They are patient. They are waiting.
Tovan's mind raced. How can patience save us?
Not patience, Eli said.
Listening. Listening can answer what force cannot. The vibrations grew stronger. Lights traced lines across the walls. Panels flickered, showing diagrams of energy flows and connections humans had long forgotten. Machines hummed louder, responding to the child's presence. The shadows outside adjusted, shifting carefully, circling, watching. For days, Eli continued to explore the station, activating old systems, uncovering hidden ships and forgotten data cores. The station itself seemed alive with his awareness. The shadows did not attack directly. They tested, measured, and observed. They responded to the quiet, patient listening of the child. Mara realized the truth slowly. Humanity had survived not because of weapons or strength, but because humans could remember, understand, and now, through Eli, listen.
Listening gave knowledge.
Knowledge gave awareness. Awareness gave protection. And in a universe filled with shadows, listeners could survive where fighters failed. Late one night, Eli pressed his hands against the central console in the chamber. The walls glowed. Machines hummed. The station itself pulsed with energy. The shadows outside paused, circling, patient, deliberate. Eli whispered soft words to the station, to the walls, to the machines. Slowly the shadows withdrew slightly, shifting as if respecting the awareness of the child. Tovan whispered to Mara, "He is not just interacting with the station. He is communicating with the universe itself." Mara nodded. She had learned to trust the child's knowledge and patience. "He is small," she said, "but what he does is bigger than all of us." Eli turned, looking at both of them. "We are ready," he said softly. "The station listens." I listen, and the universe notices. That is all we need. Outside, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. Shadows moved slowly, circling, aware but cautious. The balance held. Eli had awakened something far older than Grey Hollow, something that could have destroyed them all. But instead, it listened. The day passed. The shadows stayed in orbit around the station, moving deliberately, like students observing a teacher. Machines hummed, panels blinked, lights pulsed. The station itself seemed alive with memory, with awareness, with the touch of the child who knew every secret the world had tried to hide. At last, Eli led Mara and Tovan to the observation deck. He pressed his hand against the glass and whispered. Outside, the shadows paused. They shifted. Slowly, deliberately, they moved away from the station, returning to the dark void between stars. They had observed, measured, and understood the awakening. They had recognized the child who could hear secrets, the station that could remember, and humanity's small but powerful presence in the universe. Mara held him close. "You saved us," she said softly. Eli shook his head. "I did not save," he said. "I listened. Listening is what saved us. That is all." Tovan recorded everything. He knew he had witnessed something beyond understanding. He had seen a child awaken a station, communicate with machines, and influence beings older than humans, without weapons, without force, without destruction. Only listening. The next day, Grey Hollow began to return to its quiet life. Repairs continued. Machines hummed softly. Old ships were restored. Data cores revealed histories lost to time. And through it all, Eli walked among the halls, small, quiet, and aware, listening to what the station, the shadows, and the universe whispered. Mara realized the truth finally. Humanity had survived the universe not through strength, not through technology, not through weapons, but through memory, understanding, and listening. And Eli, small, patient, and calm, had become the key to survival. He had awakened knowledge, guided machines, and communicated with the universe itself. The shadows returned occasionally, but they never attacked. They circled, patient, aware, and careful. Eli's whispers and touch were enough to keep them at bay. Grey Hollow became a hub of quiet understanding, a station alive with memory, and a reminder that even in a dangerous universe, listening could be stronger than force. At night, Eli sat by the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Mara stood beside him. Tovan watched from a distance. The station hummed around them. Shadows lingered, circling, and the child, small and calm, whispered to the universe, "The little one who knew every secret the world tried to hide had survived." And the universe had noticed. And for the first time, humans understood that listening could save lives when nothing else could. And Eli, the child, small but powerful, would continue to listen, whisper, and reveal secrets, one at a time, until humanity learned how to survive in a universe filled with shadows, whispers, and hidden truths.